My brother opened the old metal box, looked inside, and stopped breathing for a second. His mouth stayed open. His hand was still resting on the lid. Then he said quietly at first, "This can't be right." No one moved. Not my aunt. Not the lawyer. Not the two neighbors my brother had invited to witness everything. Not even me. I sat at the end of my father's dining table with both hands in my lap and watched the first honest expression cross my brother's face in 10 years. It wasn't grief. It wasn't anger. It was recognition. Then the room changed. 3 hours earlier, I was standing in my father's kitchen rinsing out a coffee mug that no one else would have noticed. It had a hairline crack down one side. He'd used it every morning for 6 years after the stroke. Half calf, 1 packet of sweetener, too much cream. Even after he stopped being able to hold it steadily, I still made it the same way. Some habits outlive the people who need them. The house was quiet in that peculiar way grief makes a house quiet. Not peaceful, just careful. Drawers closed softly. Voices lowered for no reason. Footsteps measured. My father had been gone 9 days. Long enough for casseroles to stop arriving. Long enough for the church women to stop calling twice a day. Long enough for everyone to begin speaking about him like the hard part was over. It wasn't. The hard part had just changed shape. I dried the mug and set it back in the cabinet. I don't know why. Maybe because leaving it out would have meant admitting no one would use it again. Maybe because I still wasn't ready to turn the house into a place where things belonged to the past. Behind me, the back door opened. My Aunt Linda stepped in carrying a grocery store pie in a plastic dome. She always brought dessert when she was nervous. I didn't know if anybody had eaten, she said. We've eaten, I said. You can freeze it. I know. She set it on the counter and looked at me for a second longer than usual. Linda was my father's younger sister. Soft-spoken in public. A little sharper in kitchens. She had the kind of face that always seemed on the edge of apologizing for something. You sleep at all, she asked. Some. She nodded as if that were a sufficient lie. Then she lowered her voice. He's here. I kept drying the counter. Okay? In the driveway, big black SUV. That sounded like Daniel. He had always liked arriving in a way that announced itself before he spoke. When did he get in, I asked. 10 minutes ago. And he didn't come in. He's on a call. Of course he was. I folded the dish towel in half. Then in half again. When's Mr. Crowley getting here, Linda asked. 2. She checked the microwave clock. 1:40. I nodded. She waited for me to say something else. I didn't. Finally, she said, You know he's upset. That almost made me smile. Daniel is many things, I said. Upset usually comes after the audience. Linda glanced toward the window over the sink. The SUV was visible from there. Polished. Unnecessary. The kind of vehicle that tries to turn ordinary driveways into statements. He says he has questions, she said. He should. She looked at me. That's all you're going to say? For now. She sighed. Not dramatic. Just tired. A lot of people think he should have been here more, she said. That's generous, I said. She pressed her lips together. Linda never liked direct language before lunch. Your father kept asking for him, she said softly. I dried my hands. I know. The first year after Dad's stroke, Daniel still called every Sunday. The second year, every other Sunday. By the third, it was mostly texts. By the fourth, his assistant sometimes sent flowers with a typed card. By the fifth, he was calling our father your dad instead of Dad. Language tells on people long before they do. I had learned that in hospitals. And at kitchen tables. And beside a bed in the den where a man can spend 10 years disappearing in front of everyone while still managing to notice who changes his sheets. The door from the garage opened. My brother walked in wearing a navy blazer and expensive shoes that made too much sound on hardwood floors. He looked rested, tanned, trimmed in the careful way men look when someone else handles the details of living. He saw me and stopped just inside the room, one hand still on his phone. For a moment he seemed to consider which face to put on. He chose the sober one. Claire. Daniel. He slipped the phone into his jacket pocket. Linda straightened up beside the counter. He kissed her cheek first. Then nodded at me like we were early to the same meeting. You look tired, he said. That was the first thing my brother said to me after our father's funeral. Not hello. Not thank you. Not how are you holding up. Just an observation disguised as concern. I am, I said. He looked around the kitchen. At the pie. At the counters. At the stack of sympathy cards near the fruit bowl. At the envelope from the lawyer on the table. So this is today, he said. Yes. He exhaled through his nose. Good. I leaned against the sink. Good. He met my eyes. I'd rather get this settled. There it was. Not grief. Administration. He had always been most comfortable when human things could be reduced to process. Linda busied herself with the pie container. Plastic snapped too loudly under nervous fingers. Daniel loosened one cuff, then the other. I need us to keep this clean, he said. I said nothing. He took my silence for permission. You were here with him, he said. I understand that. That phrase again. I understand that. People say it when they want credit for comprehension without the inconvenience of detail. But being present, he went on, isn't the same as making decisions for a family. I looked at him. The kitchen clock ticked once. Then again, Linda stopped touching the pie box. Daniel must have heard himself because he softened his tone. I'm not trying to start something, he said. Then don't, I said. He looked away first. Toward the window. Toward his car. Toward anywhere that let him recover the upper hand. I'm saying emotions run high after a death, he said. People can get ideas. About what? He gave a short laugh that contained no humor. About what they're owed. That was the moment I understood he had arrived with a script. Maybe he had rehearsed parts of it on the drive over. Maybe he'd said some of it to himself in hotel mirrors. Maybe someone had advised him to keep it measured. But underneath the polish, I could hear the accusation warming up. Linda stepped in before he could continue. Why don't I get coffee going, she said. No, Daniel said too quickly. Let's just wait for the lawyer. He wanted witnesses. That told me everything. I walked past him to the doorway. Not fast. Not slow. Just enough to remind him he was standing in a house where he had been absent long enough to become a guest. When I reached the hall, he said my name. I turned. He had one hand on the back of a chair, the other at his side. Controlled. Almost. If there's anything on paper I haven't seen, he said I'd advise you not to make this harder than it needs to be. Linda looked down. I looked at him. Then I said very calmly, You should wait until you've seen everything. He frowned slightly. Not because he didn't understand me. Because he did. And because for the first time that afternoon something in my voice made him uncertain. The lawyer arrived 16 minutes later. By then the pie was still unopened. The coffee had gone unmade. And the old metal box was already waiting in my father's bedroom closet. The lawyer chose the dining room without asking. He set his briefcase at the far end of the table and adjusted his glasses in a small, practiced motion that made the room feel official. Mr. Crowley had handled my parents' paperwork for years. He knew where the light switch was. He knew which chair my father preferred. He knew how to lower his voice without making it feel like a secret. Thank you for coming, he said. He looked at Daniel first, then at me, then at Linda. Equal time. Careful balance. Daniel pulled out a chair at the head of the table. He didn't ask. He never did. I took the seat near the window. Same place I'd sat the last 10 years. Close enough to see the driveway. Far enough to watch people without being watched. Linda hovered between two chairs before choosing one beside me. She folded her hands in her lap like she was waiting for a prayer. Mr. Crowley opened his file. Paper slid against paper. A sound I had come to associate with decisions made by people who weren't present for the living part. I want to begin by saying I'm sorry for your loss, he said. He meant it. That was the difference. Daniel nodded. Thank you, he said. He sounded appropriate. Measured. The version of him that did well in boardrooms. Mr. Crowley glanced down at the first page. This won't take long, he said. Daniel leaned back slightly. That would be appreciated. He crossed one leg over the other. Relaxed posture. Prepared tone. He thought he knew how this ended. I watched his shoe tap once against the floor. Just once. Then stop. He wasn't as relaxed as he wanted to be. Mr. Crowley began. Your father updated his will 3 years ago. Daniel's head tilted a fraction. 3, he said. Yes. I wasn't aware of that. Mr. Crowley looked up. He asked me not to notify you until after his passing. A pause. Not long, but long enough. Daniel's jaw shifted. A recalibration. I see, he said. He didn't. Not yet. Mr. Crowley continued. He was very clear about his intentions. He turned a page. The sound was louder than it needed to be. Linda inhaled quietly beside me. Daniel's fingers tightened on the arm of his chair. Small movements. Tells. Mr. Crowley read the formal language. Names. Dates. Assets. Words that turn lives into lines. Then he stopped. Looked up again. This document leaves the primary residence to Claire. Silence. Not the careful silence from earlier. A sharper one. Daniel didn't move right away. He blinked once, then leaned forward. I'm sorry, he said. Could you repeat that? Mr. Crowley didn't change his tone. The house is left to Claire. Daniel laughed. A short, controlled sound. That doesn't make sense. Mr. Crowley held his gaze. It is what the document states. Daniel turned to me. His expression was still polite, but the edges had started to show. You knew about this, he asked. Yes. And you didn't think to mention it. I folded my hands together on the table. I didn't think it would change anything. Linda shifted beside me. Daniel let out a breath through his nose. This is unusual, he said. Given the circumstances. What circumstances, I asked. He smiled. But it didn't reach his eyes. You being here, he said. Handling things. That's not unusual. No, he said. It's convenient. There it was. Not loud? Not dramatic. Just placed carefully on the table like something he expected to be accepted. Mr. Crowley cleared his throat. Your father made this decision over time, he said. It was not sudden. Daniel waved a hand slightly. I'm sure he believed he was being fair. Another pause. This one longer. And you don't, I asked. Daniel leaned forward. Both hands on the table now. This isn't about belief, he said. It's about influence. Linda looked down. Mr. Crowley closed the file halfway. Not fully. Just enough to signal something had shifted. Daniel continued. You were here, he said. You controlled access. I cared for him. I'm not disputing that. He held up a hand. Calm. Measured. But proximity creates leverage. The word hung there. Leverage. Business language. Clean. Detached. I visited when I could, he added. Yes, I said. You did. The room felt smaller, like the walls had leaned in to listen. Daniel turned back to Mr. Crowley. I'd like to see the full documentation, he said. You will, Mr. Crowley replied. But the terms are clear. Daniel nodded slowly, then sat back again, rebuilding his posture. I'm going to be direct, he said, because I think that's better for everyone. He looked at me. I don't believe this reflects our father's independent decision. Linda closed her eyes briefly. Just a second. Daniel went on. I think he was vulnerable. He was, I said. And I think you may have... He stopped himself. Chose a different word. Guided him. There it was. Polite accusation. Dressed up as concern. Mr. Crowley spoke again. I would caution you against making statements you can't support. Daniel didn't look at him. I'm stating what seems evident. He turned back to me. If this goes further, he said it becomes complicated. I held his gaze. For who? For everyone, he said. That's usually what people say when they mean themselves. Linda inhaled sharply. Daniel's eyes narrowed slightly. Then he smiled again. A smaller smile this time. More controlled. I'm trying to avoid unnecessary conflict, he said. Are you, I asked. He leaned back, crossed his arms. I'm saying we should resolve this cleanly. The word again. Clean. He liked that word. I agree, I said. That caught him off guard. He blinked. Just once. You do. Yes. He relaxed a fraction. Good, he said. Then we can start by being honest about what happened here. I stood up. Slowly. Not abrupt. Not reactive. Just a decision. Linda looked up at me. Mr. Crowley watched without interrupting. Daniel stayed seated, still trying to read the room, still trying to find the angle that put him back in control. "I've been honest," I said. "Have you?" he asked. I didn't answer. Instead, I walked out of the dining room. No one followed. Not right away. The hallway felt longer than usual. Or maybe I was just noticing it more. I passed the living room, the couch where my father had slept the last 3 years. The blanket folded neatly over the arm, the remote still in its place. I didn't stop. I went to his bedroom, opened the closet, reached to the back. The old metal box was exactly where I had left it. Cold. Heavier than it looked. I held it for a second. Then another. Not because I needed to. Because I remembered when it first became necessary. And why I never told anyone. Then I turned. Carried it down the hall. Back toward the voices. Back toward the table. Back toward the version of my brother that had never needed to know. When I stepped into the doorway, Daniel looked up. His expression shifted before I even reached the table. Confusion first. Then something else. Not yet fear, but close enough to recognize. I set the box down in front of him. He stared at it. Then at me. Then back at the box. No one spoke. He placed his hand on the lid, slowly, like touching something that might react. Then he looked up one more time, as if giving me a final chance to explain. I didn't. So he opened it. He opened it like he was opening a drawer in someone else's house. Careful. Polite. Expecting nothing that could belong to him. The hinges gave a small, dry sound. Metal on metal. Familiar. Inside, the contents were neat. Not stacked high. Not dramatic. Just arranged. Envelopes. Receipts. A narrow ledger. A few photographs turned face down. Daniel didn't touch anything at first. He looked. Then leaned closer. His eyes moved left to right. Stopped. Went back. Slower this time. He picked up the ledger. Not all the way. Just enough to read the first page. His mouth opened. Closed. He set the ledger down. Then lifted one envelope. A hospital logo in the corner. Another envelope. A pharmacy. A third. A credit union. He exhaled through his nose. A longer breath this time. "Okay," he said. Quiet. Controlled. "This is billing." No one answered. He looked up at me. "Claire," he said. "Why is this here?" I didn't answer. He looked back down. His fingers moved faster now. Less careful. He slid out a receipt. Folded twice. Then again. He flattened it on the table. The numbers were visible from where I sat. I didn't look at them. I didn't need to. I knew them. He stared at the total. Then at the date. Then at the next one. And the next. The rhythm changed. His breathing followed it. Shorter. Less even. "This doesn't," he started. He didn't finish. He picked up the ledger again. Turned a page. Another. His finger traced a line down the margin. Dates. Amounts. Notes written in my handwriting. Small. Consistent. He swallowed. Then said it. Not loud. Not for the room. For himself. "This can't be right." The words landed. Exactly where they needed to. Linda pressed her hand against her mouth. Mr. Crowley didn't move. He watched. That was his job. To watch what people do when paper becomes real. Daniel flipped another page. This time faster. Less controlled. "What is this?" he said. Still not looking up. "What am I looking at?" I let the question sit. Long enough. Then I said, "Everything." He stopped. Not fully, but enough. He lifted one of the photographs. Turned it over. It was from the second year. My father in the hospital bed. Eyes open. Mouth slightly parted. The kind of picture you don't take unless you need proof. Daniel stared at it. Longer than the receipts. Longer than the ledger. Then he set it back down. Carefully. Too carefully. He started. He stopped again. Started over. You kept records. Yes. For what? I looked at him. For what it took. He shook his head. Not in disagreement. In resistance. That's not what this says, he replied. What does it say? He tapped the ledger. Loans, he said. Payments, interest, transfers. He flipped to the back. This says you borrowed. I did. For what? I didn't answer right away. He already knew. He just needed to hear himself say it. For him, he said, not asking. Stating, yes. The room stayed still. Linda lowered her hand. Mr. Crowley shifted his weight slightly. Daniel leaned back, then forward again, like his body couldn't decide where to settle. This is excessive, he said. Why didn't you? He stopped. Because the question answered itself. Because he knew the timeline. Or at least he knew enough of it. I sent money, he said. Sometimes. Yes. That should have. It didn't, I said. He pressed his lips together. Looked at the ledger again. Then at the envelopes. Then at me. His expression changed. Not to anger. Not yet. To something tighter. More contained. You're saying he began slowly. That you took out all of this on your own. Yes. For 10 years. Yes. And you expect me to believe. I don't expect anything, I said. He stopped. That landed harder than anything else. He looked down again. Picked up another receipt. Then another. The pattern was there. Too consistent to ignore. Too ordinary to dismiss. Dates that matched hospital visits. Pharmacy runs. Equipment deliveries. Small notes in the margin. Night shifts. Emergency calls. Adjustments. All the parts of care that don't show up in stories, but do show up in numbers. Daniel's shoulders lowered. Just slightly. Enough to notice. He ran a hand over his face. Slower now. Why didn't you say anything he asked? Not accusing. Not sharp. Just asking. I looked at him. Because you didn't ask. He stared at me. Then away. Then back again. That's not fair, he said. No, I said. It isn't. Silence again. But not the same silence as before. This one had weight. Daniel looked at the box. Then at the room. Then at Mr. Crowley. Is this part of the will, he asked? Mr. Crowley shook his head. Number. Then what is it? I answered. It's the part you didn't see. He held my gaze. Longer this time. Then he nodded. Once. Not agreement. Acknowledgement. I need a minute, he said. No one stopped him. He stood up. Pushed his chair back carefully. Walked past the table. Past the doorway. Into the hall. His footsteps were quieter now. Different. Linda let out a breath she had been holding. Oh my God, she whispered. Mr. Crowley closed the file completely this time. He looked at me. You don't intend to present this formally, he said. Number. He nodded. Then you understand what that means? Yes. He didn't ask me to explain. He didn't need to. Linda turned to me. Claire, why would you? I raised a hand slightly. Not to stop her. To pause her. I'm not finished, I said. She closed her mouth. Nodded. I reached forward. Closed the lid of the metal box. The sound was softer than I expected. But it carried. Down the hall. Into the space where my brother had gone. I left it on the table. Didn't move it. Didn't hide it. Just let it sit there. Where it belonged now. I didn't follow him into the hallway. I didn't need to. The house carried sound in a way you learn when you live in it long enough. Floorboards. Air vents. The quiet shift of someone leaning against a wall instead of standing straight. He was just past the living room. I could hear his breathing. Slower now. Measured. Like he was trying to get it under control before anyone else heard it. Linda looked at me. Then toward the hallway. Then back at me. Should someone she began? No, I said. She stopped. Nodded once. Sat back. Hands folded again. Mr. Crowley remained seated. He didn't open his file. He didn't speak. He had seen moments like this before. Not the details, but the shape of them. The point where paper stops being abstract. Where numbers become time. Where time becomes something that can't be argued with. After a minute, Daniel came back. He didn't rush. He didn't stall. He just returned. That was new. He stopped at the doorway. Not entering right away. Looking at the table. At the box. At me. Then he stepped in and took a different chair. Not the head of the table. One to the side. It wasn't dramatic. But it was visible. "I'm not contesting the house," he said. No preface. No setup. Just the sentence. Linda blinked. Mr. Crowley inclined his head slightly, acknowledging the statement. I didn't react. Daniel rested his hands on his knees, not on the table, not claiming space. "I want to be clear about that," he added. "I heard you," I said. He nodded. Once. He glanced at the box. Then away. Then back again. "I didn't know," he said. It wasn't an excuse. It wasn't an apology. It was a statement he needed to place somewhere. "I know," I said. He looked at me. "You should have told me." I held his gaze. "You should have asked." He let that sit. Didn't push back. Mr. Crowley cleared his throat softly. "If we're ready," he said, "we can proceed with the rest." Daniel nodded. "Yes," he said. "Let's finish." The remainder of the will was uneventful. Small accounts. Personal items. A donation to the church. Instructions for a service already completed. No surprises. No further shifts. But the room didn't return to what it had been. Something had settled. Not comfortably. But firmly. When it was over, Mr. Crowley closed his briefcase. "Claire," he said, "I'll need your signature on a few documents." "Of course." "Daniel, I'll provide copies for your records." "Thank you." Polite. Functional. Contained. Linda stood. Too quickly. Then slowed herself. "I'll make that coffee," she said. No one stopped her. She needed something to do with her hands. Daniel stayed seated, watching me gather the papers, watching how I stacked them, aligned them, the same way I had done with receipts, with prescriptions, with schedules, order where there had been none. "You kept everything he said?" "Yes." "For 10 years?" "Yes." He nodded. "I would have," he began. He stopped. Changed direction. "I should have been here." It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But it was the closest he had come to saying something true. I didn't respond. Not because I disagreed. Because there was nothing to add. He looked down at his hands, turned them over once, then rested them again. "I thought sending money was enough," he said. "Sometimes it helps," I said. He let out a small breath. "That's not what I asked." I met his eyes. "No," I said. "It's not." Linda returned with 3 cups. Set them down carefully. One in front of each of us. She avoided looking at the box. Daniel noticed. Of course he did. "I don't want that," he said suddenly. Linda looked up. "What?" He gestured toward the house. "The house," he said. "I don't want it." No one spoke. He continued. "It doesn't feel like something I can take." "Then don't," I said. He gave a small, humorless smile. "That's what I just said." Mr. Crowley paused near the doorway. "This can be arranged," he said. "Title transfer refusal alternative structures." Daniel shook his head. "Not today." Mr. Crowley nodded. "Very well." The lawyer left first. A quiet exit. The door closed with a soft click. Linda followed him out to the porch. She always walked people to the door, even when she didn't know what to say. That left Daniel and me. And the box. Still on the table. Between us. He stood. Walked to it. Didn't touch it this time. Just looked. "I read enough," he said. "Yes. I don't need the rest." "That's up to you." He nodded. Then he did something unexpected. He pushed the box slightly toward me. Not across the table. Just a few inches. A gesture. Small. Clear. "I'm not taking this either," he said. "I know." "Yeah." He walked to the window. Looked out at his car. Then back at me. I don't know what to do with this, he said. He didn't mean the box. I know, I said. He nodded again. More slowly. Give me time, he said. For what? He thought about it. Then said, to understand what I missed. I held his gaze. You didn't miss it, I said. You weren't here for it. He accepted that. Didn't argue. Didn't reframe it. Just let it be what it was. Linda came back inside. Looked between us. Something had changed again. Quieter this time. Less visible. But real. Daniel picked up his jacket. I'll call you, he said. Okay. He hesitated. Just for a second. Then added, about the house. I nodded. He walked to the door, opened it, paused, not turning around, not fully leaving. Then he said, Claire. Yes. I meant what I said earlier. Which part? He took a breath, then said, I should have been here. I didn't answer. Not because I didn't hear him, because some sentences don't need a response to be understood. The door closed. The house settled again. Different this time. Not emptier, just clearer. Linda looked at me, then at the box. Are you going to keep that? She asked. I followed her gaze. The metal, the scratches, the years it had carried without anyone asking what was inside. Yes, I said. For now. She nodded. That made sense to her. Or at least it was enough. I picked up the box. Felt its weight, not just the metal. Everything in it. Everything it represented. Then I turned toward the hallway. Back toward the room where it had started. Back toward the place where it had been hidden. Not anymore. I carried the box back to my father's bedroom. Not to hide it again. Just to set it down somewhere that felt honest. The closet door was still open. His shirts hung in a line spaced wider than they used to be. Less weight. More air. I set the box on the top shelf. Then I left the door open. The house sounded different after people leave. Not quieter. Clearer. You can hear the refrigerator cycle. The tick of the hallway clock. The way your own steps echo without interruption. Linda stayed a little longer. She moved slowly through the kitchen, rinsing cups that didn't need rinsing. Straightening a stack of mail I had already sorted. Do you want me to stay? She asked. I'm okay. She nodded. You did right by him, she said. I didn't answer. She didn't wait for one. At the door she hugged me. Not tightly. Just long enough. Then she left. I stood in the entryway after the door closed. Counted to 5. Not out loud. Just a habit. Something I learned on nights when sleep came in pieces. I picked up my keys. My coat. Walked out to the driveway. The late afternoon light had turned soft. Neighbors' cars were back in their usual places. A dog barked once, then stopped. Ordinary sounds. I drove to the credit union. The same branch I had used for 10 years. The same parking spot when it was available. Second row near the tree. Today it was open. I pulled in. Turned off the engine. Sat for a minute. Hands on the wheel. Not thinking. Just letting the quiet settle. Inside, the air smelled like paper and cleaner. Fluorescent lights. Low voices. A line of 3 people. I took a number. Sat down. The television in the corner played a muted segment about interest rates. Numbers scrolling. Advice no one really takes. When my number was called, I walked up to the counter. Karen was there. She had been there since the 3rd year. She knew my face. Not my story. Just my patterns. Claire, she said. Hi, Karen. She smiled. Busy day. Yes. She didn't ask more. That's why I liked her. I need to review my accounts, I said. Of course. She turned her screen toward me. Everything okay? It will be. She nodded. We went through them one by one, checking balances, payment schedules, interest rates. No surprises. There hadn't been surprises for a long time. Just steady movement. Forward. Slow. Measured. Do you want to consolidate any of these? She asked. Not today. Okay. She clicked a few boxes. printed a summary, handed it to me. "You've been very consistent," she said. "I had to be." She smiled again. "Not curious, just kind. If you need anything, you know where we are." "I do." "Ah." I left with the paper in my hand. Folded once. Then again. Put it in my bag. I didn't need to read it. I knew what it said. I had known for years, but seeing it all together mattered. It always had. Back home, the sun had dropped behind the houses. The streetlights were just beginning to come on. I unlocked the door. Stepped inside. The air felt the same. Familiar? I set my bag on the chair. Took off my coat. Walked to the kitchen. Filled a glass of water. Drank it standing up. My phone buzzed once. I looked at the screen. "Daniel." I let it ring. It stopped. A moment later, a message. I didn't open it right away. I set the phone down. Finished the water. Rinsed the glass. Set it in the rack. Small things. Always first. Then I picked up the phone. One message. No punctuation. No greeting. "I'd like to come by tomorrow." I read it twice. Not because it was complicated. Because it was simple. And simple things can carry weight. I set the phone down again. Didn't reply. Not yet. I walked down the hall. Past the living room. Into my father's bedroom. The box was where I had left it. Top shelf. Visible. I reached up. Brought it down. Set it on the bed. Sat beside it. Didn't open it. I didn't need to. I knew every page. Every number. Every line written at 2 a.m. when the house was quiet and the machines were louder. I rested my hand on the lid. Flat. Steady. There had been nights when I thought about calling him. Not to ask for money. Not to accuse. Just to say he asked for you today. I never did. Because I knew what the answer would sound like. Even if he didn't say the words. You can hear absence in a voice. Even over the phone. I stood up. Carried the box back to the closet. Set it down again. This time I closed the door halfway. Not hidden. Not displayed. Just there. In the living room, I turned on a lamp. Not the overhead light. The one by the couch. Softer. Warmer. I sat where I had sat so many nights. The cushion dipped the same way. My phone buzzed again. Another message. "I'm not coming to argue." I looked at it. Then set the phone face down. I leaned back. Closed my eyes for a moment. Not sleeping. Just resting them. The house held steady around me. No machines. No alarms. No schedules. Just space. After a while, I opened my eyes. Reached for the phone. Typed a reply. Stopped. Deleted it. Typed again. "Tomorrow afternoon is fine." I sent it. Set the phone down. Didn't check if he read it. The clock in the hallway struck 7. Once. Twice. 3 times. I counted without meaning to. Then I stood up. Walked to the kitchen. Opened the fridge. Looked inside. Closed it again. Not hungry. Just checking. I turned off the lamp. Left the hallway light on. Walked to my room. Paused at the doorway. Looked back down the hall. At the closed bedroom door. At the space where everything had been. And everything still was. Tomorrow would be different. Not bigger. Not louder. Just clearer. He arrived the next afternoon without the SUV. A gray sedan this time. Clean but not trying to be noticed. He parked along the curb instead of the driveway. Another small change. I watched from the window as he sat for a moment before getting out. Hands on the wheel. Then a breath. Then movement. I opened the door before he knocked. He paused on the step. "Hi," he said. "Hi." He didn't reach for a hug. I didn't either. He stepped inside. Looked around the entryway like he was taking inventory of a place he used to know. "It looks the same," he said. "Mostly." He nodded. "Smells the same. Laundry detergent hasn't changed?" A small smile. Then it faded. "I won't take long," he said. You don't have to rush. I'm not, he said. But he stood like he might. I gestured toward the living room. He walked in, sat on the edge of the couch, not leaning back, not settling. I took the chair across from him. A space between us. Clear. Intentional. I read more of it last night, he said. The box. Yes. How much? Enough. I nodded. He clasped his hands, unclasped them, then clasped them again. I kept thinking there was a page missing, he said. Something that would change the math. There isn't. I know. He looked down, then back up. I didn't know it got that bad. It didn't get bad all at once. That's not what I meant. I know. He shifted on the couch. Why didn't you tell me it was costing that much? Because you weren't asking what it cost. I was sending money. Sometimes. That should have started a conversation. It didn't. He held that, then nodded, slowly. I told myself you had it handled, he said. That was easier. Yes. It let me believe I was helping without being here. I didn't answer. He didn't need me to. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I went through the dates, he said. Matched them with when I visited. How many times? He didn't answer right away. Not enough, he said. That's accurate. A quiet sat between us, not tense, just honest. I'm not going to contest anything he said. You said that yesterday. I know, I'm saying it again. Okay. I talked to someone this morning. A lawyer. Yes. And he said I could try to challenge it. You could. I won't. I nodded. He exhaled. I don't want the house, he said. I know. I don't want anything that came from this. This isn't about what you want. He looked up. What is it about? It's about what already happened. He sat back. That landed. I keep thinking about the last time I was here, he said. Which one? The one before he stopped recognizing me. I remembered it. The way our father had looked past him. Then back. Trying to place him. Failing. Succeeding for a second. Then losing it again. You stayed an hour, I said. He winced. I thought it was better not to confuse him. Maybe. I told myself that. Yes. He rubbed his hands together. Slower now. I should have stayed longer, he said. Yes. He nodded. No defense. I'm not here to ask you to forgive me, he said. I didn't think you were. I don't think that's how this works. It isn't. He looked at me. Then how does it work? I considered that. Then said, it doesn't really. He let out a small breath. Almost a laugh. Fair. He glanced toward the hallway. Is it still in there? The box. Yes. Yes. He nodded. Can I? He stopped. Didn't finish the sentence. I waited. He tried again. Can I see it again? You can. I stood. Walked down the hall. Opened the closet. Took the box down. Carried it back. Set it on the coffee table between us. He didn't touch it right away. He looked at it like it might have changed overnight. It hadn't. I won't open it, he said. That's up to you. He shook his head. I don't need to. He leaned back. For the first time since he arrived. Not comfortable, but less guarded. I keep thinking about one line, he said. Which one? He didn't look at me when he answered. The one where you wrote 3:10 a.m. adjusted dosage, he asked for Daniel again. I said nothing. He swallowed. I wasn't there, he said. Number. He kept asking for me. Yes. He closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them. That's the part I can't fix, he said. Number. He looked at me. I can't pay that back. Number. I can't make up 10 years. Number. He nodded. I know. We sat there. The box between us. Not opened. Not needed. I can help now, he said. With what? Whatever's left. I thought about that. Then I shook my head. There isn't anything left like that. Then something else. I met his eyes. There might be. He waited. The next time something needs to be done, I said, "Don't assume someone else has it covered." He nodded. "I won't." He stood. This time he didn't rush. Didn't linger either. Just stood. "I'm going to call more," he said. "Okay. I'm going to show up." "We'll see." He accepted that. At the door he paused. Not dramatic. Just a habit now. "Claire." "Yes." "Thank you." "For what?" He looked at the box, then back at me. "For not saying anything yesterday." I nodded. That was the point. He stepped outside, closed the door behind him. The house settled again. Not the same as before. Not empty. Not full. Just balanced. Oh. I picked up the box, carried it back to the bedroom, set it on the shelf, closed the closet door, this time all the way. The next morning felt ordinary in a way that didn't ask for attention. I woke before the alarm, lay still for a minute, listened. No machines, no late-night calls, no soft alarms I had trained myself to hear from the other room. Just the house, breathing on its own. I made coffee the way I always had. Half calf. Too much cream. I poured it into his old mug without thinking. Then I paused. Looked at the crack running down the side. I set it back on the counter. Chose a different cup. Not better. Just present. Sunlight came in through the kitchen window. The kind that shows dust you don't notice until you do. I wiped the counter. Once. Then again. Not because it needed it. Because it was something I could finish. My phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. Made it home. I read it. Set the phone down. Picked it up again. Typed. Okay. Sent it. No extra words. No punctuation to soften it. Just the answer. There was a second message. I'm coming by Sunday, if that's all right. I looked at the calendar on the wall. Church at 10. Lunch after. The same pattern we had followed for years. Sunday works, I typed. Sent. This time I left the phone face up. I drove to the church office mid-morning. Dropped off the paperwork for the donation my father had specified. Mrs. Keller met me at the front desk. Soft voice. Firm handshake. I heard yesterday went smoothly, she said. It did. She studied my face for a second. Not searching. Just noticing. You did right by him, she said. I tried. That's all any of us can do. I nodded. We both knew that wasn't entirely true, but it was close enough to hold. On the way out, I passed the bulletin board. Photos from last year's picnic. Faces smiling in sunlight. My father in a folding chair. Head tilted slightly. Eyes not quite on the camera. I stopped for a moment, then kept walking. Back home, I opened the windows. Let the air move through the rooms. Carried the smell of coffee out. Brought something else in. I couldn't name it. Didn't need to. In the bedroom, I opened the closet. Looked at the shelf. The metal box sat where I had left it, unchanged. I reached up. Took it down. Set it on the bed. Sat beside it. I didn't open it. Not this time. I rested my hand on the lid. Felt the cool metal. The weight. Then I lifted it. Carried it to the dresser. Opened the top drawer. Moved a few things aside. Set the box inside. Closed the drawer. Not hidden. Not displayed. Just placed. There are things you keep to remember, and things you keep because you no longer need to prove them. This had become the second kind. I spent the afternoon going through small tasks. Sorting mail. Returning a call from the pharmacy. Scheduling a service appointment for the car. Normal things. They felt different now. Not lighter. Just mine. Around 4, Linda called. How are you? She asked. I'm all right. She paused. Daniel called me, she said. I figured he might. He sounded different. Yes? Do you think it will last? I thought about that. Then said, I think it started. She exhaled. That's something. It is. We spoke for a few minutes more. About Sunday. About who might come. About nothing that needed careful handling. Then we hung up. The house moved toward evening. Shadows lengthened. The hallway light came on. Automatically. A small click. A routine I hadn't noticed before. I sat in the living room as the light shifted. The couch held the same shape. The same dip. But it didn't feel like a waiting place anymore. It felt like a place you sit because you choose to. I thought about the last 10 years. Not as a single wait, but as days. Mornings. Appointments. Small decisions made without anyone asking who made them. I thought about the nights. The quiet. The sound of his breathing changing. The way you learn to read a room with one person in it. Respect doesn't always come when the work is being done. Sometimes it arrives late. Sometimes it arrives in pieces. Sometimes it arrives in the form of someone else realizing what they missed. That's not the same as being seen. But it's not nothing. What matters more is this: knowing what you did, knowing why you did it, and not needing the room to agree before it counts. If you've ever been the one who stayed, who handled the calls, the bills, the quiet parts no one sees, then you know how easy it is to disappear in plain sight, and how hard it is to ask to be recognized. You don't always have to. Not out loud. Not in the moment. Sometimes the truth is already there, waiting for the right person to finally look at it. If this story felt familiar to you, or reminded you of a time you carried more than anyone noticed, take a second, not to prove anything, just to acknowledge it. That counts, more than most people ever say.